Hello everyone, it's Paola and today I'm doing my May and June wrap-up. So I had every intention of posting my May wrap-up in time, and then I realized I had only read one book in June despite me needing to read a couple of more or wanting to read more than just one book. These are not necessarily the order in which I read the books. This is just the order in which I thought this wrap-up would flow nicely. So let's get started. The first book that I want to talk about is A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahereh Mafi. This is a YA romance book set in 2002 between a Muslim girl, her name is Shireen, and a white boy called Ocean. I can honestly tell you that I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. I love the romance. I love that this book is so angry. It was so cathartic to read about. My favorite quote is one that one of Shireen's friends tells her after she's been speaking about the microaggressions that she's been dealing with from her professors and her peers. And so he says, "Just try to be happy. Your happiness is the one thing these assholes can't stand." The next two books that I want to talk about are Kim Reaper Volume 1 and Kim Reaper Volume 2 by Sarah Graley. And the first installment is about Kim Reaper. She's a soul reaper. She wants to upgrade her status as a animal soul reaper to a human soul reaper. And so as she is casting this sort of spell, transportation spell, to get to the place where she has to be to reap a soul, Becca, a girl who has had a crush on Kim for a really long time, finally works up the courage to ask her out, and so she falls into the transportation spell with Kim and shenanigans happen. It's the most wholesome thing that you've ever read. Honestly, a story that every sapphic girl deserves. I think it's so simplistic and fun and cute and wholesome. Another artsy thing that I read in May was Death Threat by Vivek Shraya. This is set in 2017 when Vivek Shraya, the author, started receiving very vivid and disturbing transphobic hate mail and death threats. This book is sort of the artistic representation of the hate mail that Vivek Shraya received and her responses to said hate mail. I don't know what to say about this book. I think it's very disturbing, definitely trigger warning for transphobia and just violent anti-trans sentiments. I just thought it was really interesting how the author managed to create such an artistic slash beautiful thing out of something that I can only imagine to be as traumatic as receiving hate mail and death threats over being a trans woman. Speaking of Vivek Shraya, I also read the Subtweet. This is an adult contemporary novel about two unlikely friends. One of them is Rukmini. She becomes an online sensation after she posts a cover of one of Neela's songs. Neela is the other person that's part of the friendship, and so while Neela's fame stagnates, Rukmini's is sort of increasing, and with one subtweet everything changes. This is very clearly a love letter to brown South Asian girls. I love how contemporary this feels. You know, there's tweets, subtweets, YouTube, media outlets, sort of like BuzzFeed kind of vibes there. And I love that it's a very honest portrayal of friendship and what mishandled jealousy can do to a friendship. And the last book that I read in May was also an adult novel. However, it was not just an adult contemporary novel, it was an adult romance novel, and it was The Bright Test by Helen Huang. This is a forced proximity romance of sorts between Esme, she's a biracial Vietnamese hotel maid, and Kai, who is an autistic accountant in the USA. And this takes place after Kai's mom flies to Vietnam to find Kai a wife, and Esme agrees to become Kai's wife. I'm really sad about this book because the only thing that I liked about it were the sex scenes, and I struggled a lot with my feelings about The Bright Test because I just didn't think it was my place to talk about the autism representation, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't have a problem with the autism representation. I have a problem with how non-autistic people treat the autistic character. Kai does not want to get married, but his mom is super into him getting married. So she goes out of her way to find a potential wife for Kai, who does not want to get married. So that was like, that's a violation of his boundaries. But, you know, okay, she's the mom. I was willing to give this book the benefit of the doubt. But then, Esme moves into the house and she starts reorganizing everything. And I was like, that's something shitty to do to anyone, regardless if they're autistic or not. Why would you go into a house and then start switching shit up like it's your own house? Like, no, you're a guest. You shouldn't be moving things around unless Kai asks you to. So, yeah, I'm sad about this book. But don't write it off, because as much as I didn't like it, I also saw that a lot of people enjoyed it. So, you know, take this review with a grain of salt. Finally, the one and only book that I read in June was Who Do You Serve, Who Do You Protect? By a couple of authors, so I'll read them off from here. By Maya Schenwar, Joe Macaré, Alana Junlan Price, and Alicia Garza. It's a collection of reports and essays that explore police violence against Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other marginalized peoples in the United States. This is also a super argumentative piece of work that advocates for the abolition of police. And so this was super informative, and it was very accessible. So I know a lot of people struggle with nonfiction because it can be very like academic and just like dense and annoying, but this one was not that at all. It was super simplistic, straight to the point, and I got a lot of information out of it, so you definitely should check it out. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of the books that I talked about today, and if you haven't already and you'd like to, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!